Hey everybody, it's me, Brother Wild Bill, coming to you from inside the most dangerous prison in the Western Hemisphere. I was a hitman in the street from 2006 until 2010 when I was arrested and given a 46-year sentence for quintuple homicide. I have 13 years on the inside. I'm the prison's chaplain, state-recognized chaplain, as well as an inmate. I'm the inmate representative on the inside, and this is not a cosplay. You can pull the description box down and pull up a description of me in Wikipedia there. There's a Wikipedia link in the description box. It'll tell you all about me and who I am if you want to know more. We're doing this week, I'm excited. This is the first episode of The Rise and Fall of General Manuel Antonio Noriega, the dictator of Panama from 1981 until 1990. And so we're getting started today with the first episode, and we want to talk about a military general of the Republic of Panama named Omar Torillos, who was also a dictator. Now, Panama, and why do we want to talk about him? Let's get there. Panama was ruled by a series of military dictators from the 1940s until the 1990s, until the beginning of the 1990s. Omar Torillos was the perfect example of what a Panamanian truly is. He was a playboy who despised to work. He was really, really good and dangerous around women. You wouldn't want him anywhere near your wife. Just ask the Shah of Iran. We'll get there. He was very charismatic. He was extremely fiscally irresponsible, just like terrible with money, like spent all of Panama's money on crazy things and women and booze and stuff. We're talking about Panama's a tiny isthmus nation where the Panama Canal is. Remember that the Americans were in the Panama Canal during all of the reign of all the dictators in Panama. Panama was a country that was basically used by the American government as a staging area for the Panama Canal. And so there was an enormous military presence of the United States in Panama until 1999. Omar Torillos, one of the two notable things that he did in the international world was he negotiated away the Panama Canal away from Jimmy Carter, and that is like a shit stain, in my opinion, that's a shit stain on the underwear of the legacy of Jimmy Carter forever. Jimmy Carter did a really stupid thing by giving away the Panama Canal, and that turned over to Jimmy Carter did this in 1977, but it turned over to the Panamanians in 1999. So the Panamanians are currently in control of the canal that the Americans built, which was like, I just don't understand the thought process in that at all. Omar Torillos was really good with women, as I said, and when the Shah of Iran left Iran, when the Islamic Revolution happened in 1979, the Shah of Iran went to Isla del Rey in an archipelago off the coast of Panama City. And it's very rumored that Omar Torillos carried on a very public affair with the Shah of Iran's wife. So, I mean, this dude's is a nutcase, really. I mean, he was really loved by the people. He rose to power in the early 1970s as a military dictator. Basically, his claim to fame was that he always showed up. Panamanians are really notorious for not liking to work, not being very dependable, and Omar was always there, and that's basically how he got. There's approximately 10 families that control and hold all of the power in Panama. Torillos offended them by making it illegal for any one person to own more than 1,000 hectares, which is like 2,500 acres. And these were big land-holding families, and so he gave a lot of he nationalized and gave away a lot of land holdings of very wealthy people, so they became very distraught with him and began courting the Americans, saying that Torillos was a communist, which he was not. But Torillos had this Panamanian way of trying to play everybody and steal something off everybody. That's the Panamanian way. They call it Juega Vivo. The Juega Vivo is when you try to rob from there and you rob from there. You go over to this guy and say, I'm your friend, and you go over to his enemy and say, I'm your friend too, and you try to get them both to give you stuff. That's a Panamanian thing. It's called Juega Vivo. Well, Omar Torillos was big on Juega Vivo, and he was getting money from the Americans, but he was also getting money from Cuba, from Fidel Castro. And so when the Americans saw that he was courting Fidel Castro, they were horribly afraid that he was going to turn communist And remember that the Americans had a huge military presence in the country of Panama, and that really Panama was just a stooge country for the Americans to have the canal there. That was really the only reason Panama was ever even a nation. The Americans broke it off from Colombia when they wanted to build the canal, and that's just the reality of the matter. And so Panama, when Torillos appeared to no longer be stepping to the tune that the United States Embassy jukebox was playing, the Americans began to talk to a man destined to be famous named General Manuel Antonio Noriega. So the CIA, which was in that time period, it wasn't headed yet, but it was controlled by George Bush before he was president in the late 1970s, early 1980s, met with Noriega in 1981, and they decided to take Torillos out. Now, this isn't accepted knowledge, but I guess CIA documents one day will prove that it's true that the Americans gave Noriega a sophisticated SAM system, surface-to-air missile system, with which they used to murder Torillos when he was on a flight back from fucking the Shah of Iran's wife. He went out on a small plane to fuck the Shah of Iran's wife on Isla del Rey, and when he was on the way back from banging the Shah of Iran's wife, Noriega's people were waiting in the bushes and fired a missile and killed his ass, and that's what happened. So that's the instance in how Torillos was killed and how Noriega rose to power. Torillos is a very celebrated figure in the Republic of Panama and founded a political party called the PRD, Partido Revolucionario Democrático. And that political party is actually the political party that's in control of the Republic of Panama right now in the presidency. President Nito Cortizo, Laurentino Cortizo, they call him Nito for short. Laurentino Cortizo is his name, but they call him Nito Cortizo. Nito Cortizo is the president of the Republic of Panama, and believe it or not, he is also Omar Torillos' illegitimate son. So he looks just like Torillos too. If you see a picture of him, he looks like Torillos. Torillos' other legitimate son, Martin Torillos, was also president about 10 years ago here as well. So the country has a big mark of General Omar Torillos, but Torillos was in the way of the United States, and so they decided to take him out, and they used a man who they trusted called Manuel Antonio Noriega. He was a colonel during that time, and he was the head of the secret police. In the next episode, we're going to talk about the actual rise of Noriega and how he got into position to be the United States' favorite man to take over the country from Omar Torillos. Hey, I hope you're enjoying this series. It's a series of 5. I know, this is another thing that's important, and I'm going to talk about it each one. I know or knew General Manuel Antonio Noriega, and I called him, he asked me to call him affectionately Uncle Tony. And Uncle Tony was a great guy. I got to meet him when he came back to Panama in 2013 after serving time in the United States and then in France, was shipped back to Panama to also serve time. And we'll get to that story later, how I knew General Noriega and the things that we did together. And so I hope you enjoy this series. This is something really close to my heart because I actually love and venerate my good friend Manuel Antonio Noriega. I think he was a really interesting figure, and also was caught up. I mean, not nowhere near as bad a guy as they made him out to be, and was caught up in a lot of politics and bullshit. And we'll talk about that as we go along. So you guys keep listen to the episodes. Pull the description box down if you want to contact me directly. As I said before, there's a Wikipedia link there if you want to know more about me. There's also a link to my social media. There's a social media link there from Facebook and Instagram where you can direct message me and contact me directly. And then on top of that, I wrote a book called Long Live the King Wild Bill about my first year as a first world American in third world Panamanian prison, in the most dangerous prison in the Western Hemisphere. Can you believe that shit? That's where I am. That's where I'm a chaplain of the church here. So check it out and listen to the next episode. If you like this thing, like, subscribe, and comment. It helps a lot. Thanks, guys.